Hello, everyone. So welcome to the first episode of the Be Europe project. And I am Vlora.
And I'm Harry.
From eurodeskbrusselslink. And why we started all of this. So we believe that information is key to unlock the potential of the new generations. And this year, on the occasion of the European Year of Youth, we wanted to do something big, something extraordinary. So we wanted to put on the spotlight the young people living in Europe. And with this show, we want to interview young people coming from all over Europe about their mobility experiences and the hottest topic for their generation. So we really want to find out what does it mean to be a young European in 2022. And for the first episode, we chose a young guy coming from Lithuania. And Harry, do you know which is the capital of Lithuania?
I do actually. I've been there before. It's Vilnius.
Ah, okay, great. I didn't know you've been there.
Yeah,
So do you know something about Lithuania that you can share?
I do actually. Did you know that Lithuania became an official member of the European Union in 2004? It has been a long history. For example, the fact that Lithuanian language is one of the oldest in the world and has similarities to Sanskrit.
I didn't know about that, actually. That is so ancient, the language. But not only that, Lithuania is the exact geographical center of Europe. And there is a micronation in the old city of Vilnius, which was declared an independent republic by a community of artists.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You also know that Vilnius is the only city in Europe where you can get a hot air balloon and fly above the city. You can actually take off and start your journey in the center of Vilnius.
Oh my God, I love air balloons. I will definitely need to go there. Yeah, but beside of this, I also know that every summer in Lithuania, there is a electro music festival, which is called Ant Bangos. I hope I said it perfectly because it's a hard language for me as an Italian, which means on a wave, and takes place in Nida, which I guess in the national language, it's called Kuronian Spit, which is one of the most beautiful towns in the country. This is what people say.
I'm learning so much about Lithuania. I didn't know that. And this year, Kaunas in the European capital of, this year is Kaunas is the European city of culture. So there are plenty of events happening right now. Festivals usually make me quite hungry personally. And in
Me too.
there's cold beetroot soup, which is a cold pink soup, which is the most popular dish during the summer. It's made of sour milk, beets, cucumber, eggs, spring onions, and dill.
Literally everything inside. I'm really curious to taste it out. But now, after traveling virtually to Lithuania, let's find out who are Lithuanians? Who are these people? So that's the moment.
Yeah, so let's finally welcome our guest, Paulius.
Hello.
Hi, hello.
Hi, Paulius. Welcome to our first episode, Be Europe show. So yeah, let's start this interview and to discover who you are, who Lithuanians are, and young people living in Lithuania. What do they do?
Yeah, okay. I'm very glad that you invited me to say a few words and answer your questions and also talk about Lithuania. And I must say in the beginning that your facts are correct about Lithuania.
That's good. We had a really huge research.
Yeah, have you ever taken a hot air balloon trip above Vilnius?
No, I haven't taken a hot air balloon before, so
I think we need to do a podcast from the hot air balloon. Laura,
yeah,
do a trip over Vilnius.
Yeah, it's actually
Definitely.
very popular here to I don't know, do this kind of trips in Vilnius. So there is a lot of air balloons in the sky during summer and so on. So
Amazing.
Well, Harry, let's start.
Yeah, let's get into it. So I suppose, could you tell us about yourself and what you're working on right now?
Yes. So my name is Paulius. I'm from Vilnius, Lithuania, the capital city of Lithuania. I work at the Vilnius Night Hive. It's a cultural and social space for young creators, non-governmental organizations, other institutions working with a lot of social responsibility topics, sustainability, and also the most important topic that is in our agenda is drugs, tobacco, alcohol, and harm reduction and prevention programs and topics. So by uniting all these tools and topics, we're trying to create a new kind of space especially for young people, for people who lives in Vilnius, people who comes to Vilnius, students, school pupils, and so on, who wants to express their creativity in our premises. We have we have a big building in the heart of Vilnius, actually in the Vilnius street, Vilnius city. So it's
we know about that, and we have plenty of questions about this to you. So don't tell everything now, because we are really curious to get into that.
I'm gonna keep it for a little later. But but I've become active young person 3 years ago, I think, when I joined the biggest non-governmental organization in Lithuania, Lithuanian Youth Council. For those who don't know what Youth Council is, it's basically an umbrella organization that unites different organizations who work with young people or who unites young people. So I had a lot of good experience there for 2 years. I worked as international coordinator and worked with different international and national projects. But I'm also a scout. I've been a scout since 2008. So I think that my active membership and engagement in non-governmental sector and in active civic life started in the forest when I was a little kid.
Brilliant. That's great. You must be so busy. How do you find the time to do anything else?
I don't. And I like to sleep very much. So
that's all.
This we can relate, I guess, Harry as well. So this is something we really like. Both.
I can relate to that too. What made you want to get involved in those youth activities? What made you get started?
Basically, I think that the topics, because I was active in School Students Council in my school when I was a teenager. And then I realized that I can change something in my school, such as, I don't know, like policies, to talk with other school students, to the teachers, talk about crucial topics, what is really important for other school students. And then I discovered more topics such as, I don't know, national politics, civic engagement, sustainability, climate change, and so on. So basically, my friends who were active in other non-governmental organizations just invited and asked me if I want to join and do something with my own hands to start working with people and in that community that unites different, like the same thinking people. So but basically just because earlier I was interested in different kind of topics and I wanted to express my opinion, to change something, to get involved into something. So and then I found out that non-governmental organizations, not only in Lithuania, but I think in the whole world, really does a difference in like engaging and empowering young people all around the world. So
yeah. And what do you think we can do? What are you doing actually to encourage other young people to participate, to take action, to do what you're doing actually?
Well, my experience was when my friends actually told me about non-governmental organizations and especially Lithuanian Youth Council. But I think that's the best approach for other people, to just get in contact with people who works in non-governmental organizations or who works at this, organization who works with social problems and social topics. So, we tried to do, while I was at the Lithuanian Council, we tried to do a lot of communication campaigns that could invite young people to get more engaged into non-governmental organizations and volunteering as well. So basically just talk with other people and so on.
Reach
So
out other young people.
And that's what we're doing right now. And I hope that people who just came up here and started listening this podcast in the future will kind of will want to join some kind of organization or structure.
Exactly. Yeah, we also believe that sharing the experiences, personal stories, this inspires other young people to follow the same step or even go farther. So that's the purpose of everything we're doing today, actually.
Yeah, so, and also one more important thing is that when it comes to volunteering or NGOs, like non-governmental organizations, it doesn't matter actually how old are you. So if you're young or old and so on, you can join them.
Yeah, you're never too young to make a difference. That's great. And I think obviously because it's the European Year of Youth, we're asking every guest about what it means to be European. So what do you think it means to be European? And I suppose what are the most important advantages of being European in your opinion?
Well, I'm actually I really like to say that I'm not Lithuanian, but also like from European Union and Europe, because I really love European Union. I love Brussels, and I really believe in this kind of big structure that helps us to discover our differences and similarities in the same kind of big pot of different countries and nations and so on, and languages. So, but I think what I most like about Europe and being European is that I can be Lithuanian, I can talk in my own language, but I can still feel the same passion as people that lives in France, in Sweden, and so on. So, and it actually helps us to get more involved and engaged. So, and Lithuania is actually a very pro-European country. So I think a lot of young people at my age would say the same thing. So
yeah, that's actually the next question that I had in mind. Like, how do young people in Lithuania see Europe? Because now it's clear how you see it, but what about young people in Lithuania?
I think for if we look to the older generations, they saw Lithuania in Soviet Union, they saw world wars, they saw independent like Lithuania before the Lithuanian independence in the 90s and before joining the EU. So, but like most of the young people, they were born in, or they were like very I don't know, not old enough to remember what kind of Lithuania looked before 2004. I don't remember what kind of Lithuania looked there. But it's basically the first thing is that you're able to travel everywhere. I think that's the most convenient thing and the most easiest how we can understand European Union. And also, I don't know, it's just, we don't kind of express or highlight that we're European Union. We just know that we are, and that's the most important thing. We don't question the fact that we're European, and I think that's the most important thing about young people in Lithuania, and I think in the most European countries, because it's just like basic thing to be in European Union. We love that, we know that, and we are engaged and empowered in some kind of way. So
yeah, you don't.
But I don't know. I cannot talk about all young people. But when I talk about this, I basically talk about my friends or my people that surround me and so on.
Yeah, I know, and I think you're right. I don't think you have to fly a flag or wear a badge to be European. It's a mentality, and I think it's a certain amount of, I suppose, understanding the benefits. And I think you mentioned one of the benefits there of travel. I suppose everybody knows that one of the benefits of being a part of the EU is travel. How important do you think traveling is in order to gain a bigger view of the world and to get new life experiences?
I think it's the most important thing because, during the pandemic, we discovered online features and online tools that we can discover a world from our room. But on the other hand, I think that it's the most important thing, that we're able to travel, to see, to speak with other people, to listen to other languages, and so on. And when I said that in the beginning that I really like European Union and Europe as a whole, because we're different and same at the same time, because we speak different languages, but then we can translate it into, or talk in English or French or other international language. And then we can discover that we're actually sharing the same values, sharing the same kind of ideas. And while working at the European, at Lithuanian Youth Council, I worked also with a project that called European Youth Dialogue. And for those who don't know this project, I think it's a very beautiful project and very crucial project for us as Europeans, and especially for young people, because this project aims to build a more like robust dialogue between stakeholders, decision makers in Europe, and young people. And I discovered the thing also while traveling to different European youth conferences and different events and so on. I saw that it doesn't matter from which country we share the same problems. School students in Lithuania and school students in the Netherlands could share the same problem, that they lack, IT kind of lessons, or they're want to talk about the sexual education and so on. So that's while you travel, and when you talk to different people from different countries, you actually understand that we share the same problems and we need actually the same solutions. So so that's the main point. We're different by our language, by our nations, by our borders, capitals, and so on, but we still share the same problems, the same solutions and ideas.
Yeah, just because we investigated a bit about your personal life, your experiences in the past, and we know that you came back from US recently. We would like to know, as you spent some time there, which differences did you see between European youngsters and Americans? If there is something that is really evident, that is really like, oh my God, Europeans much cooler at that.
Being an European in US, I've been in New York. I had an internship at the Permanent Mission of Lithuania to the United Nations. I've been there for 3 months, and I didn't get a chance to speak or to know a lot of young people there, because I mostly worked with diplomats and people who worked at the United Nations, and also my friends who are Lithuanians. But I saw that being a European in US, it's a cool thing, because no one knows. They know about Europe, but they know about Europe as a region, or they know like Paris or Rome and London and so on. But they still lack some kind of knowledge into describing smaller nations, or knowing like new facts and so on. But I don't think that they're different, like American young people and European young people are different, because we're still like the same generation. We share the same values. I think that like they're similar. And also we have internet, so we see a lot of same content. They see like the same content as we Europeans. But the main thing that sometimes we Europeans, I don't know, maybe it's just a small country thing, me being from Lithuania or Baltic states as a region, we think as in like that US is something really big and very powerful, and having a lot of new technologies, and sometimes we underestimate ourselves. But me being in New York and seeing that actually we're like the same, and in some of the topics or themes we're more evolved or more progressive than there, because we're like smaller. It's easier for us to adapt for like new technologies or new kind of features and so on. So yeah, but basically no big differences. just my kind of view as being coming from a smaller country and seeing this big old New York City and with its possibilities and opportunities. So
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's as you said. I think we often see the US as being something so big and different, but it's not actually too different from ourselves. I want to ask you a bit about your own work. Obviously, you're working right now on tobacco, drug, and alcohol harm reduction and prevention development. And we know that luckily the consumption of alcohol and tobacco is decreasing. Can you tell us a little bit about your work and the work you're doing there to, I suppose, as I said, work to help reduce that and to work on prevention development?
Yeah. So as I said before, it's a cultural and a social topic space. Vilnius Night Hive. Yes, we work with alcohol, drugs, and tobacco harm reduction and prevention. So the main thing is, I was new to this topic as well 1.5 years ago when I started working here. And I had a chance to be the pioneer, like the first one who started working here. So I was on my own for 1 year, and then I invited my friend to join me right now. So but when I discovered this topic about and different topics, because it's a very big and holistic topic, the harm reduction and the prevention. So when we want changes in this topic, as you said, the alcohol consumption is still a big problem. It's decreasing, but it's still a big problem in Lithuania, in Eastern Europe especially. And then you have to talk with people and to have a different approach. You cannot say that we're gonna ban, alcohol ads, or do not talk about alcohol or tobacco or drugs at all, because it's not informative. You're not giving information. You're just blocking and banning the information about alcohol and drugs and tobacco. And when you want changes and when you set goals in this topic, you have to be prepared that your work and your kind of achievements and changes in the statistics will be seen in 5 or 10 years. So you're not gonna have this result in the short run, in the short term. So yeah, and our approach in this topic is to inform young people, and mostly young people, because we're based in the most popular bar and club street in Vilnius. So we have a lot of alcohol consumption, drug consumption, tobacco consumption in this street. So it's like a scene of all those things. And we're not saying that you don't have to drink alcohol or you don't have to smoke or but we're just saying that you have to know why are these kind of things are harmful for yourself. When I'm talking about harm reduction. So we're using these tools we're using events, we're engaging a lot of institutions public institutions in Lithuania who works with with these topics. We work with non-governmental organizations, and they're based in our building. And also we have a safe space. It's actually called like that. We have volunteers who volunteer during nights of Friday and Saturday. They're prepared to give you and consult you about alcohol, drug, and tobacco harm reduction and the tools. So we have informational leaflets about different substances, drugs, alcohol, tobacco, and so on, and what you should know about these kind of substances. So that's the most important thing. When we talk about prevention, we're basically targeting youth or people who are not using drugs, tobacco, and alcohol. So we're just also talking about the harms and that you shouldn't start doing that because it's harmful for yourself. So but
just Paulius, just now, because now you're talking about this topic especially, and we know that in this building that you have this organization, you opened actually a bar, And this was a bit of a scandal in Vilnius because it was like something controversial. Like you are preventing people at using alcohol, you are talking to young people, hey, don't get used to drink a lot, etc. And you open a bar just right there. So how do you explain this to the people that are shocked about this choice?
Yeah, I agree that it's controversial when you visit our website and there is like alcohol, harm reduction, and tobacco and prevention and so on. So, and then we just open a bar. But since the beginning of this project, because this project was kind of not sponsored, but it was the idea of Vilnius city municipality to open a night hub for people who want to know more about harm reduction and production. And the one of the things that was mentioned in the project application was that this place should have a bar or a place where people could socialize. So it was actually written in the project since the beginning. But when we opened the bar, we also received a lot of questions from the society, why this place, and not only from the society, also from people who works in this topic, like professionally, from doctors and so on, because they thought that this idea is not going to work. And we, as I mentioned before, we don't have the result right now because it's going to be shown in 5 or 7 years from now. But our idea was to open a bar that is friendly, that is not discriminating people, and that it has the values that we have to change the nightlife in Vilnius. So we're not saying no to alcohol. We're saying that you can drink alcohol, but you should know what kind of harmful things that substance could do to yourself. And we have like leaflets, we have volunteers. Our bar personnel is had the I don't know, I forgot the word in English, but they were taught how to deal with different kind of situations, and they had a seminar for that. Our volunteers hosted a seminar for them, and they talked about what kind of substance there is, about drugs, about alcohol, about tobacco, and so on. So we wanted to create a space that's also not only provides alcohol and have parties and so on, but also that talks about the substances that you're using in that bar. And
a conscious use of this, let's say this,
because alcohol is not banned. You can do that, and it's not banned in Lithuania. So basically, you just have to be you have to have like this cultural approach, because in Lithuania, we have a lot of big problems that is connected with alcohol consumption, and people that, especially with people that underage and so on. So we just wanted to talk about this topic and to educate people about the possibility
on the field directly, which is the bar in that case. Great.
And it's actually it's interesting. I think when you speak about the information and knowledge you give people, and that's very empowering, and it gives people the opportunity to understand the impact and effect that alcohol and drugs and tobacco has before, as you said, they even start to use or consider it. And I think it's important that we give people that information. But in terms of prevention, what needs to change in your opinion?
Well, when I was in school, we also have, in Lithuania we have not a lot of education that is not a lot of good education about prevention, especially with tobacco, alcohol, and drugs. Basically, you have like one lesson per year, every year, since when you're in school, and then some old lady or some old person comes to you and then just talks about you very not youth related language. So you just sit there and scroll your phone, and the information that you're getting, you're just like blowing away from you. And we wanted to make it more creative, and I think that prevention, especially for younger, for kids, for people who are still in school, has to be selected and done in different kind of approach, more creative, and it has to start from the teachers. So that's why we're still in the negotiations with the municipality of Vilnius, and we want to attract more teachers who are in Vilnius to just come to us and see this space and see what kind of information we have, that they could talk about this kind of topics with their school students. And and tomorrow we're gonna have the first group session, and one therapist that she works with the teenagers, she's gonna start doing these group sessions with young people who wants to talk about harm reduction and prevention and drugs and tobacco and alcohol in a more creative approach with young people, not just giving the information on the board or in the PowerPoint presentation, but just like talking with them about these problems.
Yeah.
So
in
I
a
think
non-formal,
in non-formal way,
more relatable way. And I suppose it's a hot topic at the moment in Lithuania about drug use, and especially since last year, 2021, when the parliament tried to decriminalize a small amount of drugs, but it didn't succeed at the last station. Can you maybe just share with us your thoughts about that and about the need for legislation and your own experience in that area?
Well, it was a sad time because, our parliament before, they had a different kind of drug policy, and about that. So they just thought that it would be easier and that they would make a decrease in the numbers when it comes to drug using and so on. So they just changed the laws and they just made it criminalized to smoke weed in Lithuania and all other drugs and narcotics. So, but our idea was, we also kind of joined the coalition or the campaign that was against that thing, and we wanted to say that the information and the knowledge in this kind of topic must be shared with the society, because we still have these stigmas in the society that thinks that those who uses drugs is bad people. And we tried to change that. Our new parliament tried to change that, but it's still, that's why we're talking about information and the knowledge and education in this topic, because people still don't understand this topic not correctly, but they don't know a lot of information about this. And when it comes to drugs and other substances, basically the easiest way is to put them into jail or something like that. But even our institutions such as police and Homeland Security and so on, and doctors and medicine personnel of clinics and so on, they say that it can be done with the restrictions or banning the drugs. You should educate people and help them when it comes to this topic. So and a lot of professionals and experts say that this is not a good drug policy in Lithuania. So I hope that in the next spring session of our parliament, we're gonna have this topic again, and then they are gonna agree on doing that. They're not saying that weed or other substances should be legal. They're saying that you should provide help, not put them in jail, and because that could have a lot of bad consequences in your future.
Exactly. You ruin also their reputation, their future, not only in the immediate, but also like in the long term, of course. Yeah. So it has longer impact and more significant also, let's say.
And in European Union, we have a lot of good examples, such as Netherlands, Germany, I think.
Exactly.
Portugal. Yeah, so they're seeing this result, as I said before, that you can see this result in 5 or 10 years. They're seeing this result because they changed their drug policy, and people uses drugs less because they know the harm and so on. So
yeah, exactly. Well, this is a super hot topic, not only in Lithuania, but I guess in all over Europe, where there is no free use of these substances. So also in Italy, we had the same issue. Like a few months ago, we presented to Parliament a similar proposal, and it was not accepted. So we definitely can relate to young people in Lithuania. But yeah, just because of the same purpose, not because we want all to be drug people, but because if you have the freedom to do it, you will not have the instinct to want to do it even more, like, to get crazy about it. So that's always the thing. So I'm just wondering, a regular person, how can people help in that? How can we help in spreading the word around and have an impact and share the message that the more you're informed, the best it is, because you know what are the consequences, and you know what to do in case when using drugs or when drinking with people, drinking with friends.
So basically, I don't know that if in every European country there is this kind of organization or this kind of place where you can get information. I know that Germany, Netherlands, and Denmark definitely have these kind of night hubs for people who wants to know more about drugs, tobacco, and alcohol harm reduction and prevention, and also about other cultural activities that is happening in their cities. That's also what we're trying to do, to spread the word about culture during nighttime, because the other important thing is night economy and nightlife, that we should change not change, but make it more safe for everyone than the night of we're having like parties or going to clubs and bars and so on, so that we could have less incidents and less these kind of situations. But when it comes to talking with your peers or with your friends about drugs, tobacco, and alcohol, you should definitely visit the internet or social media pages and platforms that have a lot of very important and informative facts about these kind of substances and so on. And also to think with your head, like, because it's the most important thing. Like one tip for myself that I discovered only when I started working here: drink more water if you want to not to suffer during the night and you're drinking alcohol. Like that's a very easy tip and it's very easy trick, but it's actually helping us from not going into these kind of situations or harming ourselves. So these tips and these tricks help us to experience the night, the parties, the time with our friend in a different way. But I know that it's funny, but it's actually the truth. Those basic tips are very crucial for us.
It's good advice, I think. I think passed on.
I also try that. Drink more water. It really helps. I confirm.
I sometimes try to, but I often forget. So I think I need to remember that the next time I'm at a party. But you've spoken so much about the experiences you've had over the last few years between traveling and your work, obviously in a very interesting space. What would you say is the most important thing that you've learned in the last few years?
I don't know, because I have had a lot of ups and downs when coming to my setting goals in my life. I tried working in different places. I wanted to work in different places. I wanted to achieve something big and so on. Then the pandemic started, and as I said, I had a lot of ups and downs. But the most important thing I discovered during these years and before my trip to US, that people are kind and everything is okay with our world, because If you are trying hard and you are setting your goals and you want to achieve something, and you shouldn't be left alone, because you should ask people, you should talk to them to help, to find help from them and so on. Because if not, like other people, other Lithuanians who helped me to go to New York, I know that I wrote emails for like 6 months before my journey to the trip to New York, but because I was desperate and I wanted to find the accommodation for my stay. But actually, yeah, it took me like 6 months to find a place, but I found it and it was like free. I stayed free for like 3 months. So you shouldn't let your hands down and on the ground. You should ask people, and because we have a lot of different tools, we have a lot of different organizations, non-governmental, volunteers, people who have experience, and they're willing to share to you with you this experience. And so
and also the tips and tricks that they experience and that they can share with you. And the most important thing that comes in my mind now, it's networking. Of course, if you connect with that person, maybe that person knows another person that can help you in that occasion. So really talk to people. It's really the key.
Right.
For this, I can totally confirm also from my personal experience. It helped me a lot.
If you have like a big dream, so you should like make it happen, actually, with the help, of course, of other people. If you don't have like tools, of you are lost in some kind of decisions and so on. So because we have these tools, and especially young people are so like proactive and they're so engaged and empowered, I think. So we should continue to do that, because while I think that it doesn't matter how old are you, but especially while you're young, it's a very important thing to discover more and more things, that your knowledge will be broader and your experience and possibilities could be broader.
So, yeah. And just like, because you already said everything, like my question was about the advice that you can give to young people if they are experiencing any trouble at the moment, if they are in the point to make a decision, or if they are looking for an opportunity, if they want to go abroad as you did, if they are desperate. So what advice you can give to them?
I don't know, like work hard and dream big, because like you should follow your goals, because if you want to implement those goals or achieve those goals, you should work hard, and you shouldn't let yourself down if something is not going by the plan. And and also to talk and network with other people. But I think that still a lot of young people in Europe, Lithuania, or I think in the whole world, still thinks that their voice or their actions is not enough to change something. So I think that this is not true at all, because and I'm very happy that I live in European Union, because we have a lot of different tools that helps us to spread our voice and to involve ourselves and engage into the decision-making processes and say what we like, what we don't like, and what we want to change, and so on. So so you should dream big, and you should really think that your voice really matters. And if you have a topic or I don't know, basically, if you have a topic that you're interested in it, so you should continue to do that. And
that's great advice, I think, especially for the European youth. As you mentioned, the pandemic has disproportionately affected young people. Had to put our lives and dreams and hopes on hold. But I think this year is a great opportunity to take advantage of all of the opportunities being provided, and to really go out and, as you said, work hard and work towards your goals. And I think it's said a lot of really great advice there, and it's something I can relate to, and I think a lot of young people all across Europe can relate to. So thank you for that. It's really interesting discussion. I think your advice is something a lot of people will listen to.
Thank you, Paulius. It was really a pleasure to have you here with us today. And I confirm what Harry said. Your word will definitely help other young people who are experiencing some issue similar to you. So thank you a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
So we also say goodbye to our audience who is watching us. So thank you for watching. So see you in the next episode.
Yeah, thanks a million.